Give it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's an effing cat in an effing tree. It's more or less a colorful way that I told my wife on the phone the story that I was assigned to cover as a local TV reporter that day. And it wasn't just an effing cat in an effing tree. It was that this cat had been in the tree and splashed on the front page of a major newspaper for 3 days. Even after that cat came down and scampered away, because after all, that is what cats do, this was still a story on the 5 o'clock news that night. So yes, I was mad as hell, and I wasn't going to take it. That was my Howard Beale moment, if you will. I've come to believe that local TV news cannot simply be a utility providing weather and traffic on the spinning wheel. It has to be amazing again. This was not the industry that I had fallen in love with. I actually popped out of the womb with a microphone in my hand, and I weaseled my way into this business at a way too early an age. And I gave it all my time, all my holidays, my weekends, my evenings, my early mornings. But the game had changed all around. Newspapers were the first to think differently. They were forced to really evolve by their shrinking subscriber base and this guy named Craig who had a list. The publishing industry, magazines, wire services, radio, they all had seen massive rethinkings. But local TV news hadn't really had to. It's been formulaic, and that's worked for many years. Television news, which is this beautiful marriage of moving pictures and audio, emerged from newsreel into a national evening event with Murrow and Cronkite and Jennings and then Couric and local anchors that you grew up watching and, if you're me, admiring. But now it's become noise in this field of more noise. In many cases, fragmentation has not raised consciousness, only blood pressure. And if you yell loud enough or if you're better coiffed, you may rise above it, but it has become a caricature of itself. It has great potential, though, to break the mold, and it has great people to make it happen. Lots of my friends are in the business. They are great people. This is about shifting how the entire industry thinks and where it looks for inspiration. After the cat came down, I moved on to help rethink the digital side of our newsroom. And then early last year, I joined JLab, a journalism catalyst of sorts that ignites innovations in journalism. In the greater field, we see very good things going on in journalism as a whole, particularly on the local level. We see journalists who are embracing collaboration as the new competition. We see them connect in meaningful ways with audiences, and we see their work have real impact in communities. All of this has got me thinking about innovation and how the rest of the news industry can inform how TV news evolves and how those of you in other industries can evolve as well. For one thing, innovation means looking outside oneself. Local TV news tends to look inward, gazing longingly at its belly button, instead of looking outside of your industry and designing your change from that perspective. Understand the way that other things function and apply that to what you do. Innovation must steep up in order to trickle down. When a newsroom leader gets it, then the entire newsroom has no choice but to get it. If you're a journalist and your boss doesn't seem to get it, it's on you to make the case for it. Show them why, and when they say no, see if you can do it in your spare time. In 2005, I convinced some of my colleagues to join me as I started a daily webcast for our division. We worked it into our schedules even when it meant coming in early, and we really enjoyed experimenting. We had a lot of fun doing this thing. And it was a hit. It built a small but engaged following, and it even brought in some extra money for the station, but it showed that we could break that traditional formula, play with it a little bit, and it didn't have to come down from up on high. What it lacked, however, was a broad stage, which is my third thought. Innovation must not exist only in the digital space. You can't say you're on Twitter and call it a day. Reading a tweet on air is not enough. It doesn't cut it. Innovation needs to impact your non-digital world, too. CBS launched a new web series with the great Shira Lazar. It's called What's Trending. But I would argue that it should really be on TV, not just on the web. People on the web already know what's trending. Have a conversation with your audience, which gets me to point number 4. Innovation must also improve context. Edward Tufte, the godfather of information design, he notes that the simplicity of reading derives from the context of detailed and complex information properly arranged. That is, don't dumb it down. we're actually making viewers and users more passive by simplifying. Instead, with the proper order and the proper context, even the most complex information can provide a clearer picture. Case in point, the Sunlight Foundation took home JLab's Knight Batten Award for Innovations in Journalism last year for a new tool that covered live political hearings in a very smart way. They decided that on the same screen, you could see a live stream with live data displayed at appropriate times, with a live chat with journalists, and with filtered information of importance. It's about providing more in-depth knowledge rather than shorter, less substantial bursts of news. It's about relevance. And there is an audience for this. Nielsen actually yesterday released research showing that we watch, on average, 158 hours of TV in a month, about 40 hours a week or so. We're also watching more video online than ever before. More people watched video, not on TV news websites, but on newspaper websites. That is huge. Local TV is getting beat at its own game. In fact, TV isn't TV anymore. It's just video. All of that said, do I have the ultimate answer here in my pocket? No. And that's kind of the point here. If I did, I'd be a gabillionaire. It takes a whole lot of people doing a whole lot of exploring, a whole lot of thinking creatively, and a whole lot of playing around a little bit in the sandbox to try and figure it out. It even takes, gasp, failures. It takes mistakes. It takes risks. Am I naive enough to think the entire industry will find its awesome sauce? No. Not really, but I'm optimistic in this. I'm not defining success by the goalposts of this bygone era. The days of the big three are long gone, but everyone in this industry should be striving to add bits and pieces of awesomeness, to think differently. There will always be effing cats stuck in effing trees, and there will always be videos of cats online, always. But this is the time for television news to innovate or die. And I believe in you, television news. I do. Breathe. Come to life. You can do it. I still love you, and we will work together again someday down the road, I promise. You can be amazing. Thank you.
Stay here.
Oh, thank you.
This is great. That was awesome.
Thank you.